Hello and welcome to Easy English for Intermediate. I'm Liam.
And I'm Chloe. We're thrilled to have you join us for another episode designed to help you boost your English skills.
That's right, Chloe. Today we're diving into a fun and relatable topic, finding and talking about new hobbies. We'll explore why they're important and, of course, learn some great vocabulary and phrases along the way.
Absolutely. But before we get into the main discussion, let's start with our phrase of the day. Today's phrase is to dip your toe into something.
Great one, Chloe. To dip your toe into something means to try something new or start a new activity cautiously and for a short time to see if you like it. For example, I'm not sure if I'll enjoy pottery, so I'm just dipping my toe into it with a one-day workshop.
Exactly. A very useful phrase when you're considering new hobbies.
So, Chloe, hobbies. Why do you think it's so beneficial for people, especially busy adults, to have hobbies?
Well, Liam, I think there are so many reasons. Firstly, they're a fantastic way to unwind and de-stress from work or daily pressures. It's a chance to switch off your brain from responsibilities and just do something you enjoy.
I couldn't agree more. For me, it's also about personal growth. When you take up a new hobby, you're often learning a new skill, which can be incredibly rewarding and boost your confidence. Plus, it can broaden your horizons.
That's a great point, and sometimes hobbies can even lead to new social connections. If you join a club or a class, you meet people with similar interests. What was the last new hobby you tried, Liam?
Actually, I recently started getting into astrophotography. It's quite challenging and very time-consuming, but incredibly rewarding when you capture a good shot of the stars. I had to get my head around a lot of technical stuff. How about you? Anything new you've been dabbling in?
Well, I haven't captured any stars, but I've recently tried my hand at urban sketching. I'd always loved drawing, but never really pursued it. It's so relaxing to just sit in a park or a cafe and sketch what I see. It doesn't require much equipment, which is a bonus.
That sounds lovely. What do you find most enjoyable about it?
I think it's the mindfulness aspect. It makes me pay more attention to my surroundings, to the details I'd normally miss, and it's something I can do almost anywhere. What about the challenges of starting a new hobby? It's not always easy to stick with it, is it?
Definitely not. I think a common hurdle is finding the time. And sometimes there's the initial frustration when you're not good at something straight away. It takes perseverance to get past that initial learning curve.
True, and sometimes the cost can be a barrier for certain hobbies, but I believe there are plenty of low-cost or even free hobbies out there if you look for them, like reading, hiking, or learning a language through free apps or podcasts.
Nicely put, Chloe. And I think it's important to remember that a hobby is supposed to be enjoyable. If it starts feeling like a chore, maybe it's not the right fit, or perhaps you need a break.
Exactly. It's about finding what genuinely makes you happy and gives you a sense of fulfillment outside of your work or studies.
Okay, let's break down some of that useful vocabulary we used. Chloe, you mentioned to unwind.
Yes, to unwind means to relax, especially after a period of work or stress. For example, after a long week, I like to unwind by listening to music.
And I used to take up a hobby. This means to start doing a particular job or activity. For instance, she decided to take up yoga to improve her flexibility.
Then there was to broaden your horizons. This idiom means to expand your range of interests, knowledge, or experience. Traveling really broadens your horizons.
I also mentioned time-consuming. If something is time-consuming, it takes a lot of time to do. Learning a new programming language can be very time-consuming.
And to stick with it. This phrasal verb means to continue doing something despite difficulties. Learning guitar is hard, but if you stick with it, you'll improve.
And let's not forget to get your head around something, which means to succeed in understanding something difficult or strange. It took me a while to get my head around the new software.
Great summary, Liam. And remember, our phrase of the day was to dip your toe into something.
All right, now it's your turn to practice. Think about this. What's a hobby you've always wanted to try or one you've recently taken up?
And try to use some of the vocabulary we discussed. For example, you could say, I'd like to take up painting, but I'm worried it might be too time-consuming. Maybe I'll just dip my toe into it with an online tutorial first.
Or, I tried learning the ukulele, but I found it hard to stick with it. I couldn't quite get my head around the chords.
Take a moment to form your own sentences. You can even pause the podcast if you like. The more you use these phrases, the more natural they'll become.
For our Culture Corner today, it's interesting to note how popular the do-it-yourself or DIY hobbies have become in many English-speaking countries. Things like home improvement, crafting, or upcycling furniture.
That's true. There's a big emphasis on creativity and making things yourself. And often these hobbies are shared online through blogs or video tutorials, creating communities. If you're looking for inspiration for a new hobby, websites like Pinterest or even YouTube are fantastic resources.
Definitely. And don't underestimate local community centers or libraries. They often host workshops for various hobbies at reasonable prices.
So, to recap, today we talked about the benefits and challenges of finding new hobbies.
We learned some great vocabulary like to unwind, to take up, to broaden your horizons, time-consuming, to stick with it, and to get your head around something.
And our phrase of the day was to dip your toe into something. We hope you feel inspired to explore some new interests.
Join us next time on Easy English for Intermediate when we'll be discussing how to talk about your favorite books and movies.
Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss it.
Thanks for listening and keep practicing.
Bye for now.